6 trigonometric values. I chose 4 pi over 3 and 315 degrees to find the trig values here. So 4 pi over 3, we can find 4 pi over 3 on our circle. Thinking about your unit circle, that's more than pi, so we know it's at least on the bottom half of the graph, but it's only slightly more than pi, so it's going to be over in your third quadrant. It's going to be pi over 3 away from the x-axis, which means it's going to behave just like the pi over 3 angle in your first quadrant. It's just going to change signs over in the third quadrant. So thinking about your third quadrant, if we think about how our signs are positive as we go around, on the unit circle, everything's positive in the first quadrant, sine is positive in the second quadrant, tangent's positive in the third, and cosine in the fourth. So we're living in the third quadrant, which means that it's only going to be tangent and cotangent are going to be our two positive ones, and everything else is going to be negative. So 4 pi over 3, let's think about it. 4 pi over 3, the pi over 3 angles for sine. So sine starts at 0. It goes 0, 1/2, square root of 2 over 2, square root of 3 over 2. Okay, so the pi over 3 angle has the sine of square root of 3 over 2. We're down in the third quadrant, so this is going to be negative square root of 3 over 2. 4 pi over 3 of cosine. So cosine starts in the first quadrant, starts at 1, goes to square root of 3 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, 1/2. So we're down in the third quadrant, so we're going to be at negative 1/2. All right, and then I've said many times, I don't have my tangents memorized. I just try to divide out every time. So if I'm doing sine over cosine, I know that, notice that the square root of 3 will be on top, the 1 will be on the bottom, the 2's will cancel out. So for tangent of 4 pi over 3, we're just going to have square root of 3. And then the rest of these should be pretty easy, because if you can get your sine, cosine, and tangent, then cotangent, secant, and cosecant are just going to be reciprocals of those. So if I flip over the square root of 3, it's going to be 1 over the square root of 3. Or if you're a fan of rationalizing, that's square root of 3 over 3. For 4 pi over 3 secant, secant is the reciprocal of cosine, which means if I flip over cosine, I get negative 2. And then for cosecant, I'll get negative 2 over square root of 3, which is the same thing as negative 2 square roots of 3 over 3. All right, 315 degrees. So 315 degrees, I gave you 1 radians and 1 degrees so that we can learn or pay attention to where each of these fall. Knowing our degrees and or our angle measures really well is really helpful. So 315 degrees, on our degrees, we have 0, 90, 180, 270, and then 360. So 315 degrees falls between 270 and 360. It's 45 degrees from 270. It's also 45 degrees from 360, which means it's at that halfway in between angle in the fourth quadrant. All right, so halfway in between angle is the one that has all the square root of 2 over 2's. For 315 degrees, fourth quadrant has cosine positive, which means everything else except for secant, but everything else will be negative. All right, so for sine, sine is going to be the pi over 4 angle, or the 45 degree angle is square root of 2 over 2, and it's going to be negative because we're in the fourth quadrant. Cosine is also square root of 2 over 2, but it's positive in the fourth quadrant. And then tangent, so sine divided by cosine, those are the same value. They just have different signs, so one's negative and one's positive, which means tangent's going to be negative 1. Cotangent, if I flip over negative 1, it's still negative 1. Secant, if I flip over cosine, I'm going to get 2 over the square root of 2. When you rationalize that, some people actually memorize these to begin with as negative 1 over the square root of 2, which means if I flip that over, same thing here, 1 over square root of 2. So if I flip that over, it's actually just the square root of 2. So positive square root of 2 for secant. You can also write it as 2 over square root of 2, but the second you rationalize it, it gets nicer. So secant is positive square root of 2, and then cosecant will be negative square root of 2.